Hey Zwifters, this is Eric with Zwift Insider, here with a time comparison test between 4 different bike setups on Zwift's Road to Ruins route. I'm using Strava's comparison tool here, and if you're unfamiliar with it, I'll just run you through how it works. So we've got 4 different setups here. They're based on the color, so the black line is the Tron bike, purple is a bike swap, which is actually a combination of 2 different bikes, which I'll explain later. Turquoise is a gravel bike. That's the Specialized Crux with NV gravel wheels. And the orange is a mountain bike. It's the Trek Super Caliber. So the way this comparison tool works is you set one as the baseline. So in this case, the Tron is the baseline. That's why it's a flat line. And then all the other lines are in relation to the baseline. So that means that in the bike swaps example here, it's pretty close to the Tron, just slightly slower. If it's below that black line, that means it's slower. If it's above it, it's faster. Slightly slower. When we do the bike swap, we lose a lot of time, but then it gains. And then we do another bike swap, we lose some time, but it does finish ahead of the Tron. And you can see the other 2 bikes kind of similar. They both end up finishing behind the Tron. So if you're down here in below the black line area, you're slower than the Tron. If you're above it, you're faster. And if you look at the map up at the top, that can help you kind of see where we're at in these times. So you can see that things change when we enter the jungle circuit, which is the kind of strangely shaped circle at the bottom left of the red route map. So just to run you through really quick the performance of each of the bikes. Let's start with the slowest. So let's start with orange. That's the Trek Super Caliber, the mountain bike. You can see that it's losing time to the Tron the whole time until we get here, until we hit the dirt. Then it starts to gain back some time all the way through the jungle circuit, all the way until we leave the dirt, which is right here. So it gets pretty close, gets to within, looks like 8 seconds of the Tron bike. But then we hit the pavement again, and it starts to steadily lose time again. Goes all the way to here, where it finishes 1 minute and 40 seconds behind the Tron. The gravel bike, the Specialized Crux, is actually really similar to the mountain bike in terms of its profile, but it just performs a little better because it's faster on the pavement, and it's just slightly better in the jungle as well, just maybe by a second or 2. But you can see it doesn't lose as much time on the tarmac. Gains back time here in the jungle, and then loses time again, finishing 28 seconds behind the Tron bike. And the really interesting thing here, the interesting line is this purple one, and that's the bike swap. So what we did for this is we started with the Chapter 2 TOA using NV 7.8 wheels. That's just a really good all-arounder. Could have used the Tron bike, but I just wanted something a little different. The TOA would climb a little bit better than the Tron bike would. You can see it only loses 2 seconds by the time we hit the jungle dirt. It's only 2 seconds behind the Tron. Then when we swap, it takes a little bit of time to swap. And I'll be honest, the swap was not super fast here because I was doing it with my bots, and I'm not real well practiced, I'll be honest, swapping with bots. I think it's actually harder than swapping when you're actually riding on Zwift. Anyway, you can plan on losing about 15 seconds when you swap in game. In this case, I lost about 20 seconds actually. So this is a bit exaggerated on this one, and it's going to get even worse on the next one. So I swapped to the gravel bike. I swapped to the Specialized Crux with, in this case, the Cadex wheels, because those are the default gravel wheels. They're the first ones alphabetically in my list, so that's what it automatically chose. So I just kept those. And you can see I gained time on the Tron all through the jungle with that setup. All the way up to here to a max of, man, I'm 47 seconds ahead of the Tron by the time I leave the jungle. Then I do a bike swap back to the TOA. It's a terrible bike swap. I go from 47 seconds to 13, so that's 34 seconds I lost, that just means I did a bad job of swapping. Again, you should only lose about 15 seconds if you do it right in game. And then you can see for the rest of the ride, I only lose, 13 seconds I'm ahead here, and I finish 9 seconds. So the Tron gains 4 seconds on the TOA for the rest of this. You could switch to the Tron actually for this finishing part, since it's mostly downhill. You don't need the climbing of the TOA. You want something as aero as possible, so swapping back to the Tron. Anyway, the swap setup in this particular test, it finishes 9 seconds ahead of the Tron, but keep in mind that's with some really bad swaps. If you did 15-second swaps, heck, you'd probably get another 35 seconds on the Tron bike at the end of this, so you're looking at 45 seconds ahead. Keep in mind, of course, this is all just in a solo effort. This doesn't take into account drafting, or what do you do if you're in a pack of strong racers when you hit the jungle. Those are other things to consider. But if you're just purely looking at bike performance, the swap is the way to win it. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Hope that was helpful. Right on.